Hello, Matt.
Hey, Nestor, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty well. Welcome everybody to our show. Today, it's really cool. We know that things change really fast, and over the last 2 years, things are changing faster than ever. Do you agree, Matt, with that?
Yeah, definitely faster. And I don't know if there are ways that we could have predicted or not, but it
Yeah,
seems that there. We always say we know things are going to go faster in the future, but when it actually happens, it's kind of strange. Yeah.
yeah, and it's really cool when you say that because when I say faster, usually it's I'm driving my car and I go faster. But when the things go faster in a sense that you didn't know that things can go faster,
Mhm.
that even great and even more challenging due to the way of thinking. So today, it's about the idea, about the curiosity idea. And because things are changing, what if we change as well, but the way we are allocating resources to entrepreneurship?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it makes it's curious to me because you're talking about going faster, right? And it's strange because we are going faster and things do change faster. But what makes I think people like us uncomfortable sometimes is not everything changes at the same speed. For
Yeah.
example, the education system, right, is an example we always talk about. Like, we innovate where we can have, a camera and a conversation in our pocket, right? But the education system's slow, and the same with entrepreneurship. We can get these innovative products and these innovative entrepreneurs and innovative ways to be entrepreneurs. But when you really look at how entrepreneurship is, quote unquote, done, it really hasn't changed much, right? In terms of when we talk specifically about resources and how resources are allocated. I think it's kind of strange and maybe even sad that the innovation hasn't been all across entrepreneurship over the last, say, 20 years or so, or 30 years.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Just to give some examples, if we go back 20 years ago, I
Mhm.
was in, I would say 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I was at the university, and the way they were putting money for entrepreneurs is pretty much the same way we are doing it now.
Yep.
So it's you have an idea, you have a framework just to be able to pitch the idea. At
Mhm.
that time, I remember it was the business plan was the big thing.
Yeah.
The business plan was the thing, and even was a big company. I do remember the big company in
Mhm.
Silicon Valley, and that company was businessplan.com. And
Okay.
yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
I was one
That's
of the
good.
users actually. They did, I would say, good money.
Hmm.
But now we have pretty much the same thing with another name. We have a Canvas model. Yeah, we have the value proposition. Yeah, pretty much the same thing. It's just trying to put some ideas into a box.
Hmm.
But what if we look for different things? And these programs, these conversations, is not about finding the answer. It's about making questions. So, Matt, what if we change this? What do you think we'll be facing if we
Yeah.
change the way we are? For example, the idea,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
resource to be able to put the idea or to explain the idea, because we have very common resources.
Well,
But what if we open
well,
our minds?
yeah. Well, one of the ways I think we can, well, one of the way the first thing I think we need to look at is as we get curious about this question is there's really at least two different parts to get, to go deeper in and explore. And one is what are resources, and the other is what is it that entrepreneurs need, right? What are the actual needs of the entrepreneurs? In this case, the entrepreneurs are almost the customers, right? What is it that they're looking for? And then if the resources are then the value, that satisfy the need that the customers or the entrepreneurs in this case are searching. I guess we first of all, it's there's no one right way, but do you want to look at A or B first? Do you want to look at what are the resources? And again, this isn't just to Nestor here. This is for everybody watching. Is that there's hopefully this conversation that we have will encourage you to have your own explorations of this question and others. But just also as an example of how we use curiosity-based thinking to attack questions or to come up with solutions. So if we want to look at, get more curious about resources, the first question, I guess, is, particularly as resources pertain to entrepreneurs, is well, what are resources? Yeah. Because and I think if you were to ask, most entrepreneurs or, people on the street, the first thing they'd say, again, as far as resources in terms of entrepreneurship, is they probably say money, right? They may try to sugarcoat it and say funding or use some other word, but they're talking about money, right? Like how do I get them? And they're not just talking about how do I become a billionaire. See, that's the thing is if you're not in entrepreneurship, you think, oh, everybody's just trying to take money from everybody and exploit it. No, they're honestly, most entrepreneurships, and I think they're too ashamed or shy probably to say it outright, is they want to know, how do I get money so I can make money, right? And that's a question I think that is rarely asked and therefore rarely explored, right? And I know from personal experience, when I asked it directly, there was rarely an answer. So I think that's one question is I think that we can always go deeper in is like, how do we get money to make money, right? That's one part of it, right? But the other part with entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs in particular, I think they'll tell you, it may take a little asking or prodding, but I think it won't take too long for them to really agree that their most valuable resource isn't necessarily money, but it's time, right? And how do I make the most out of my time? How do I get the most from my time? What do I do with my time, right? And in many ways, I think you'll find entrepreneurs, whether they realize it or not, or whether they admit it or not, they truly, I think they measure value in terms of time, not money. And we can just look at many current billionaires to see examples of this. But that's a whole nother discussion. But I think already you can see in just a couple of minutes, and I don't want to dominate the conversation. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts on this question about resources and how do we reimagine resources and what are resources. But just to throw two out there right away, just in terms of time and money, I think whether you need one or both, I think it is important as an entrepreneur to truly understand what they are and what about them you need, right? Before you can start really finding the answers that you need. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Yes, my mic.
Yeah. Sorry.
Building on that, the time, it's another type of resource. We say, yeah, now we do have the money and we have time. Two big things in our lives. The money actually is an object that we can use to convert a value and to buy things and to get access to another things. The time, it's limited or might be unlimited depending on how we use the time that we are putting into our company.
Yeah.
Another type of resources that we have that are very important as entrepreneur, it's connections. Okay, let me look for my notes here. It's connections and collaboration. Usually, when we have the idea, it's based on personal connections. Based on personal experience, you have an idea. But what if we change the thing and we will say, hey, this group of people, they might be entrepreneurs, but they didn't know yet. And let's put this group of people in a specific environment where they have a lot of connections and they collaborate to each other. They'll be able to find ideas, necessities, needs, wants from the market, and then we can go back and then now we can pitch the ideas. That way, we can grow the pool of entrepreneurs. That
Mhm.
might be something. We don't know. But what if we just change the way? Because the common thinking is we have this superstar that did the homework, fill the blanks, fill the application, and get very good doing a pitch elevator. Um, then we allocate the money to this guy. But what if we allocate the money to the shine guy?
Mhm.
To the
Mhm.
guy that is on the back of the room, that it's really hard for him just to speak up, but maybe he has another type of connection, not better
Mhm.
connection, another type of connections. What if we, instead of just putting our money to our local community,
Mhm.
we grow the community, and we say, for example, we are this city with these demographics, and it happens that around the world we have, I don't know, maybe another 10 cities that we can collaborate to each other to be able to find problems, resources,
Mhm.
people, and start sharing. Of course, that costs money, but that's resources. So,
Yeah.
what instead of trying to push the product, we just bring the people, and
Mhm.
bring the necessities. That's
Mhm.
just a way of thinking different, and it's not thinking out of the box. It's just
Yeah.
making it bigger.
Yeah.
But it's just to be able to I would say to remove the pressure
Mhm.
on just the money and just the time. Because
Yeah.
if we just are actually cared about the ROI of the money
Mhm.
and the 50 hours a week that we have, and we say, hey, now we have the money of 10 countries, and now we have the time of 100 people. Might be able to change. And one last thing before I do want to hear you as well
Yeah.
is,
No.
what if we, for example, say the co-working spaces? What if we rethink the way co-working spaces works? And
Mhm.
this is something that in the future will have a great impact in the way of doing business, especially because everybody, all of you, know about the metaverse. The
Mhm.
metaverse is the presence of you in a different universe that is the meta, that actually you will have access to people, and you will be able to socialize faster,
Mhm.
better, and without the restrictions of languages even. That's something that is just to think about. Hey, what if we think not just in the entrepreneurs that we need today, but in terms of the entrepreneurs that will be growing in 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. This has given us lots to think about. I'm really curious to hear everybody's thoughts on these questions as well. And I realize, in addition to the resources, and what are entrepreneur, or what is entrepreneurship today, also what does allocation mean? Like, how, there's different ways of to redefine that as well. But something that you were mentioning specifically, I marked down and starred a couple times, was when you're talking about resources, but specifically, what are resources for entrepreneurs? We've got money, we've got time, but then you're talking about the network, but or your connections. In other words, your connections. But you didn't just say your connections or your network. You said connections and collaboration, and it made me think of of this idea of a collaborative network truly is a resource, and it's specifically because a lot of times we think of our network or our connections, but in all honesty, these are people that maybe we've connected with on LinkedIn, we've never even met in real life, right? And not that there's anything wrong with that, but there are certain people, as an entrepreneur who, and again, I'm borrowing from what you were saying before, Nestor, but collaborative connections, right? These aren't just people that you're connected with. These are people where if you say, hey, look, I'm going to be doing this event, or we're going to be doing X, or I need someone to speak about this, or, do you know anybody who's interested in that? They're responsive. They're curious, right? They want to know. And it's not a bad thing that collaborative network is such a smaller percentage of our overall network. But I think if you can truly, as an entrepreneur, if you can truly identify who your collaborative network is, I think that's both valuable, but then thinking of it as a resource. This is something I'd never, talking about resources for, I don't know, 10 years or more. I've never even came, thought of this before. So just thank you again for what you put in my head there as far as a resource, this idea of a collaborative network, and maybe encourage people listening to this to think about who is your collaborative network, and how can you both, how can you collaborate? In other words, and by collaboration, it's not just what can you get out of them, but how can you participate actively in what they're doing. And I think this is one of the positive things about entrepreneurship, that, you're able to do this. Nestor, we're not even in the same country right now, right? And we're talking to entrepreneurs in Macedonia and Honduras and Mexico and Colombia and Argentina. And there's fewer and fewer barriers to really not only identify this collaborative network, but to really to grow it. So I encourage everybody to use, to think of that as a resource for entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, man, that's so powerful, and I'm sure that if you're watching this video, of course you will say, "Hey, my God!" But the thing that I do have now is more questions. That's what is curiosity about, is to have more questions and develop the yearning of trying to get the answers, but of course enjoying the process and being in the process. You will get to places that you don't know that actually it exists,
Yeah.
And this is what curiosity is about. And the collaborative network, I will add something, Matt, to that concept. And it's the thing that actually we've been doing for years, with you and I, and with our customers, that is collaborative curiosity. Yeah, what if you get curious, not yourself, but you create a network of curiosity? So that will change the game, because when you're sitting with somebody from other country, from other conditions, other I don't know, different places, and you think in terms of let's do collaboration. Yeah, but at what level? And I would say at a level of curiosity that
I like
becomes
that.
collaborative curiosity. What if we just put our money doing collaborative curiosity? Of course, it's not about getting the questions today. It's about opening the space to making better questions. That will be my final thought on that. I don't know, what are yours, Matt?
No, I don't want to. I think that's perfect. Just to inspire better questions out there. And again, we could talk all day about this question. I'm sure we'll revisit this topic several times in the future. But just hope some of these thoughts and questions can be helpful to somebody out there who's an entrepreneur or trying to reimagine how we allocate resources.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being curious, Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.